Deacon Francis, we really appreciate your being with us this evening. And as other people come into it, they may have additional questions and commentary for us. But really, this is your night, and we appreciate your being with us, and are grateful to you for that. I think what we'll do is we'll let Simone start it, and maybe begin with a few questions, and then later on, those of us that are kind of listening in will have a chance to chat with you a little bit and maybe offer some questions even in the chat to you. So I'm going to ask Mumbi to start with just a very brief introduction about Friends in Solidarity, which is our 501c3. So Mumbi, can you just maybe make a few comments, and then we'll turn it over to Simone to go from there.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And good evening to everyone. Friends in Solidarity came about 9-10 years ago, and it came about through the request of Solidarity with South Sudan, a ministry that was established 15 years ago by the UISG and USG, the Conference of Major Superiors of both men and women religious. And it came about because the bishops of South Sudan and Sudan, at that time Sudan, requested for help in ministering to the people of that country. And since that time, they have established 4 key areas of ministry. Through education, where we have the Solidarity Teachers Training College in Yambio, but are also now starting an in-service teachers program in WOW as of September this year, educating primary school teachers and giving them a certificate and a diploma in education. The other area is through healthcare at the Catholic Health Training Institute in WOW, where nurses and midwives are trained to go back and serve in dioceses all over the country, and including the Nuba Mountains. The third area is agriculture through the Sustainable Agricultural Project in Rimenze, alongside the small project of a kindergarten that we also support in the area. And the fourth are the pastoral programs run out of the Good Shepherd Peace Center in Kit, offering both trauma healing programs to diverse populations all over the country, but also faith formation, catechesis, and spiritual renewal programs for priests and religious. So Friends in Solidarity primarily exists to support the work of the Solidarity with South Sudan initiatives in South Sudan, and they're all aimed at building the capacity of the local people to be able to populate these key areas of human development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. My name is Simone Blanchard, and I'm the Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Director for the Sisters of Bon Secours, and a brand new board member of Friends in Solidarity. And I'm very grateful to be here with you tonight with Deacon Francis Chan. I have the pleasure of introducing him tonight. Deacon Francis grew up in Sudan, what is now the country of South Sudan. He fled to Lebanon in the 1990s to escape the war and eventually came to the United States as a refugee. He worked for the state of Iowa, Department of Human Services, Bureau of Refugee Services as a case manager and refugee specialist for 22 years and is currently serving in the Iowa Workforce Development Program. He is an advocate for his country of South Sudan and serves in the Diocese of Des Moines as a deacon. His ministry includes serving refugees in the Diocese of Des Moines. Many of us on this call, including me, have not yet had the opportunity to travel to South Sudan. So this is a real treat to learn a little bit more about the history and the people of South Sudan. Francis's story, as you will hear, is one of courage, love, tragedy, faith, resilience, and I am honored to interview him tonight. During our conversation, this is a very small group, so just please feel free to type your questions in the chat. And after the interview, Father John will lead a question and answer session. And you can also come off mute and ask your questions at that time. I'm sure you will have questions after you hear his story. I sure did. So let's just get started. Deacon Francis, you grew up in Sudan, now South Sudan, during a very tumultuous time. You shared with me that you lived through 3 wars, Could you talk about your experience growing up in what is now South Sudan?
Sure. In the beginning, I want to thank God that will give me opportunity of coming to this beautiful country to restore my dignity that I feel that it was, for some reasons, has been injured during my stay in Sudan. Yes, I could say that I have witnessed 3 wars in Sudan. Historically, the first war of 1958, which is started in the city of Torit in eastern Equatoria, which has continued for over 17 years. And within that 17 years, there was 1.7 million lives that were lost. And again, the 83, that is came as a different approach, because the first war were fought for the revelation, for the independence of South Sudan. But in Dr. John Garang, the Mobier, which has happened to be educated here in the state of Iowa, where he obtained his PhD, came up with a different approach where he said that no, Sudan belongs to all the Sudanese. And I think it is a system that needs to be changed so that everybody can feel that he has identity to be called Sudanese with the equal opportunities. So the approach of the war changed in 83 with the coming of Dr. Garang. Again, the third war that I call is a civilian war that erupted in 2013. I was not expected that I will leave another war, although I was not there physically, but I can tell that we, the Southern Sudanese in diaspora, were really feeling the war so actively in our life here. So thinking of growing up in all those wars, although they're tough, but I can say for me as Francis, those wars helped me also in another way to discover myself and to know myself who I am and my fellow Southern Sudanese or Sudanese, that I share the same situation with them. I was not thinking one day that I will leave Sudan because I love teaching. I was a teacher, by the way, for 11 years. After when I graduated, I started teaching in a primary schools. And then with the help of the bishop, when he sent me to Egypt, where I obtained my undergraduate, I went back and taught again Christian education and then history. So it was not easy to grow up in those 3 wars where everybody will be thinking, what is the reason of fighting? Because the majority of the Southern Sudanese did not know really what was the reason of fighting until when they realized that they lost their loved ones and the war is being led by their own sons and daughters. And especially the one of 2003. Till today, the Southern Sudanese do not have answer. What was the reason? Although people think seriously that it was the highest leadership who caused this war in South Sudan. So it was not easy to grow up in 3 different wars.
Yeah, not easy at all. Not easy at all. Your strength and resilience are really a testimony to who you are as a person and to who you are as a Christian. And I'm wondering if you'll tell us a little bit about your faith journey in Sudan and now here. I understand that you were studying for the priesthood when you were in Sudan. Can you tell us a little bit about that time and your decision to leave, your difficult decision?
Thank you, Simone, for asking that question. And that's a very important question. to me and to the other people to know also. And here I will give the credit to my late mother, Teresa Tifo. My mother died 3 years ago, just last March 16, it will make it 3 years when she died. And she was my best teacher in faith, where she taught me how to pray rosary when I was only 6 years old boy. My faith saved me to be today as Francis. And for someone, especially the area where I come from, the area I come from in South Sudan is bordering the north. They say that we are the best, especially my tribe, which is considered, sometimes they call themselves Shuluk or Cholo or Luo, because we are the part of the Luo of Kenya, or actually the Kenyan Luo left us in South Sudan. The Shuluk or the my tribe, they are being identified as the best Arabic speakers among the Southern Sudanese because of the border that we share with the North. Also, we were the most affected because of the border that we share also with the Northern Sudan. Because during those times, the policy of Sudan was to Arabize and to Islamize the Southern Sudanese. They have to start with us, those who live with them on the border. And it was not easy for some of us to keep their Christian faith with that situation, unless you are really know what is your faith. If you are able to make Christ as a center of your life, you can overcome. So I entered seminary with the help of our friends. And, I know I talk too much, but let me bring this thing very important. One of the catechists one day in my little town called Kodok, K-O-D-O-K, or sometimes they call it Feshoda, which is the headquarters of the Sholo Kingdom in northern Upper Nile. This catechist, by his name Joseph, one day found me on the street, the very time that which I was supposed to be in this classroom. And he was riding a bicycle. So he held me from my clothes while he was still riding his bike with his one hand, and took me to the church. And he asked me, Francis, what is the problem? I know you are a very smart student. So I described to him what was the problem, because I was not living with my mother at the time. I was with some relatives. I told him everything, and he said, you will be here with me in the church all the times, and then you just can go to sleep in your house where the relative that you are living with, but you are going to be my assistant. And that's what the first time, that's what the second times, after when my mother taught me how to pray rosary. Without asking me, I didn't know that he gave my name to a priest who was in charge. In our town, there was no priest there in the parish where there was a missionary, where there was a male health fathers. And I believe that priest is still alive in Netherlands by his name, Ben Stoffel, from male health father. So he gave my name that to those who are going to be sent to seminary, to minor seminary in Malakal. And I'm talking here now, that's what, 1978. And I didn't have any clue. I know that I see, I love the church, but I didn't have any clue about the vocation of becoming a priest. He encouraged me, and then he sent me to seminary, even without the knowledge of my mother. When my mother when she knew that I was sent to seminary to become a priest, according to the people who were with her, there is a kind of way that the Sudanese women make noise. She was filled with joy. when she heard that her son went to seminary to become a priest. That's the same woman who will pull me out from theology 2 in major seminary after everything went turn around. So my history of thinking of becoming a priest is full of a lot of challenges, but I was blessed of having wonderful, wonderful bishop until today, although he went to heaven, but I consider him as a really my spiritual father, although he's not here, Bishop Benson Mojok of Malakal.
And so your faith journey, as they often do, started with your mother, and the love of your mother and the teaching of your mother. And tell us a little bit about your decision to leave the seminary. Also came after talking with your mother because of what happened in the war with your brothers. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And this, it will go back again, is growing up in the war. And nobody knows the ugly things is that 3 letters, W-A-R.
Yes.
I had war. It's so ugly. My 2 twin brothers who were forced to join the war die, and my other sibling died. So we remain only 2 with my older brother, who is happened to be here with me now. But my older brother was an alcoholic. His name is Nyawello Chan. Charles drank too much and he was not able to take care of my mother. So the only opportunity that remained is my mother to convince me to leave seminary. I refused. I said, no, I'm not going to do it, Mom. I wanted to become a priest. She was so smarter than me because she was the one who gave me life. And then she went to Bishop and convinced Bishop. Bishop called me and he said, the same Bishop that I just mentioned, Benson. And he said, Francis is a mother. Is a mother, listen to your mother. And if it is what God wants from you, you will come back to church again. But the mother has a priority. Go and help mother. And then I listened to Bishop and I left seminary and went to assist my mother. And the same Bishop again came back and sent me to Egypt to study theology for 4 years. And then came back and assist the diocese as the teacher.
Yes. Listen to your mother. That's solid advice. I think that we can all agree with, right?
I think that is the reason that will make Mary to ask her son to change that space miracle.
Yes.
And Jesus was obedient to the mother.
Yes, he was. Do whatever she tells you. He tells you, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about leaving Sudan. In 1994, you left for Lebanon and found work with a Jesuit priest, helping to serve migrant workers there. So always serving, still serving. Your wife and children followed you a couple of years later. Tell us about your time in Lebanon. I know it was a difficult time.
Sure. I would say that although the tragedy happened and the pain came into my life, which is that when I lost my dear wife in 98. But the best times I could say that I spent in my life was in Lebanon with Father Martin McDormand, Jesuit priest that has been living in Lebanon for over 50 years. He has only, because he become an older priest now, every 2 years he come here to US to visit me. He did not come for 6 years now, because I think he's like 96 years old now. But he always call me every week and check on me. I was blessed when, although I left South Sudan, I left Sudan at the time, not South Sudan. It was not again my desire to leave Sudan in 94. But the situation forced itself. And with the help of Bishop, after when I was released for jail with accusation which that I have never done, Bishop did help me to leave the country. And I didn't have any clue that I need to go to Lebanon. Again, God sent me to the right person, Father Martin McDermott, where I work with him. He employed me while I was studying at the Jesuit University, St. Joseph. He employed me at the library. By the way, one of the important library in the Middle East. They call it New Oriental Library, where many scholars go from or come from all over the world. So he gave me that job to help him. I thought it was that only job that I will do for him. But he said, no, Francis, God has sent you to me. You are going to be my catechist. You are going to be my right hand, where he saved over 100,000 immigrants, mostly from Filipino, from Sri Lanka, from Ethiopia, and then from Sudan. So we started, most of those people, they work in the houses as mates, housemate, with a lot of challenges and so forth. So I continue working with Father McDermott for 2 years, and then, no, I think it was 2 years, yes. And then later on, my family, my wife and my 2 beautiful daughters came to Lebanon, where the other 2 were born there.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I just don't want to forget this beautiful story about your daughter, one of your daughters, and how your daughter was named.
Yes, Mary Teresa, and that's where I'm coming in. So Mary Teresa, when she was born, she stayed for a couple of weeks without giving her name, and she was staying with the missionary of charity, the daughter, missionary of charity, of Mother Teresa, and it happened that mother did pass by visiting her sister's house in part of Lebanon. They call it Sin Field. If any one of you went to Beirut, is, you know, the missionary of charity always live in the very lowest society where they are. And I was working with them as a volunteer also in that house. So when the mother came, let me say, St. Teresa of Calcutta, when she passed by, she was amazed of having just a little baby, only a couple days. And she asked, and she was told, oh, this is the daughter of one of our volunteers. He is still in hospital with his wife, and his wife is dying. So she asked if I can be called to come to the house. And yes, I said, yes, I would come. They said, Mother Teresa is here, and she's calling for you. So I went down to the house, and she said, would you mind? And Father McDermott came, by the way, and he baptized Teresa that day.
Wow.
Father Martin McDermott, the Jesuit, came after when the mother asked me if I could consider accepting the name to name my daughter. And I said yes. And after 2 days, when the mother left, my wife passed away. But we were filled with joy that Mother Teresa gave the name to my daughter. She is in the basement down. I wouldn't bring her, but she's down there. She doesn't, she has a cerebral palsy. She cannot talk, but she understands most of the things, especially when I talk to her in my own language.
Wow. Yeah. How many people can say that they were named by Saint Mother Teresa? Not many. You know, before we started this interview,
a little tiny lady like this. She, you know, she's very short. I thought when you see her in the picture, I didn't know she was very short lady like this. And she will come to you with the 2 hands like this when she graded, with 2 hands like this.
It's amazing. This is giving me chills. And it's you know, before we started the interview, we were talking, for some reason we were talking about funerals, and you had said that you love funerals because suffering is really the key to find joy. And that there's a lot of truth in that. And you certainly had a lot of suffering, and you certainly also had a lot of joy and a lot of blessing in your life. And we're just so blessed to have you with us tonight. So thank you again. I just have a few more questions before we open it up for the audience to ask questions. Talk a little bit about what happened after Lebanon. You and your family were able to be resettled in, of all places, in Iowa. Tell us about what that was like, getting off the plane in Iowa with your family.
I have no idea about the word Iowa. But when the Catholic Charity offered us that, because we were resettled by the Catholic Charity, I think they went to the bio and see, oh, those who are Catholic, or I do not know what was the reason. But I found out later on that it was the Catholic Charity that brought us to Iowa. But when I was informed, you are going to Iowa, I say, Iowa? Immediately, because my mind, my thinking, it is in Arabic language. You know, I speak and write Arabic better than English. So my mind immediately went back translating that word Iowa, which is mean yes in Arabic. And I said, why those people are taking me to yes now? You see, again, I was blessed leaving a great man behind me, Father Martin McDermott. At the airport, I met a religious sister by name Sister Patricia Scher, who is still now, she's a very close friend to my family. And when she ran towards me, I was holding my daughter, because Mary Teresa was not walking by the time. She did have some difficulty. She started walking when she became 6 years old. That's what the time when she started walking with some difficulties. There was a mobility problem with her. She ran towards me like she knows me a long time ago. And I said, God, Mother Virgin Mary is sending me another Father McDermott in the image of women. Who is this woman? And sister brought us home, Sister Scher, Patricia Scher. She's a Dominican. She took care of us, and I believe it was her who talked to the bishop at the time, because I did not have any clue of becoming a deacon. In South Sudan, I think there was only 2 permanent deacons. One of them died, and it remained only one, who is now Deacon Anthony, who is now in Egypt. The Deacon George Abbas died. Those were only 2 permanent deacons in the entire South Sudan. So I did not have any clue. I did not have any clue. But one day, Bishop called me. Is a Bishop Emeritus of Des Moines now. His name is Joseph Sharon. And he called me in his office and he said, Francis, would you... And by the time I didn't marry yet. I just was only with, I did not remarry again. I was still only with 4 of my daughters, taking care of them. And he said, here is what I think that you can do with what I see. Many people talk about what you do at the cathedral, because the first parish we got involved with, it was the Cathedral of St. Ambrose, where I am now. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I need my older daughter, who is getting married now. By the time she was only, I think Vivian was 8 years old. And she was like a mother to us. I said, I need to talk to her. But there, what Bishop Benson Mojok told me in '86 came back into my mind when he said, Francis is a mother. Listen, go with her. If that's God wants from you, you will come back to the church. It's just things came back into my mind again. So I thought about it, and later on, they considered me and they encouraged me also to remarry. They said the girls need the mother, and if you get ordained as a permanent deacon without getting married again, you cannot get married again based on the canon law. So if you would like to do that, plus the family has been pushing on me for quite a long time. You know, the Sudanese does they do what they call marriage, arranged marriage. There was a lot of proposals which I was turned down for many years. You see, so that is what I consider, and I see it as was another blessing. And my wife, who was praying for me in heaven, she was a wonderful woman who did encourage me a lot to do what I was doing in Lebanon. And even when I was in Sudan, she was a strong advocate and protection to me. And she loved evangelization like myself. So become a deacon, and a lot of things has happened along the way.
Yes, it's wonderful. You became a deacon and you're such a blessing to our church. And you're also a blessing to many, many new families that are doing the same thing you and your family did many, many years ago, stepping off a plane into a country they've never been to a state they've never been to. And you helped so many families along the way. And I wonder how your experience being a refugee yourself and being resettled here in the US, how did that help you in your many years of working to resettle refugees?
I was given too much by the church. I was given too much by people of God and those who love God. I was given too much by those that I meet on the road, especially with the two events that happened in my life. When I was in jail in Sudan, and also when I came to Lebanon and lost my wife. People shared their gift. So coming to Iowa and working for the refugees, to me, it was giving back. And giving back what I have received that it doesn't belong to me, I see it is important that I share it with others. And one another important thing that I kept into my heart is my local church in Sudan and South Sudan. I keep connected. I keep the connections so strongly with what I can. And I wish I would have an opportunity to see Bishop Benson Mojo, but God has his own plan. When I was ordained in 2010, he was considering to come, but he was so weak because he was sick. I was invited him to come to see me. He couldn't make it until when he died after 5 years after that.
I'm sure you feel him intercessing for you now.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can say that I'm blessed. God has blessed me.
Yes, truly. You spoke a lot, your story, you spoke a lot about other people that had ministered to you during really your darkest times and also your joyous times. And a lot of those people were, were lay ministers and were people working for the church. And so I'm wondering, if you can talk a little bit about the importance of supporting the church in Sudan, in South Sudan. As you know, as Moonby stated earlier, Friends in Solidarity works in South Sudan doing just that, training, folks to do pastoral outreach, agriculture, teacher education, healthcare education. I read today that there are estimates that are only about 8% of girls in South Sudan are literate. And that's basically possibly the lowest literacy rate for girls in the world. So I'm just wondering, in your opinion, why is teacher education and training and other solidarity efforts with the church in South Sudan so important today? especially in the conflict that is happening right now.
Before I put my 2 cents, as American says, I honestly would like to appreciate all what the Friends of Solidarity are doing. The first time that I heard this word, Friend of Solidarity, with all those wonderful jobs that you are doing, it was just after 2 years when this Solidarity was formed. And that it came from my connections with the church or the local church in Sudan. The Health Institute that sister mentioned, Molam, we used to call it Molam because they were just close to the school, to the St. Mary of Nazareth school where I was in Wow, who was one of the gifted health institute that has assist a lot and has saved a lot of life in South Sudan and Sudan. Because when the war erupted, it was taken out, moved from there to Wadi Medani. And that's the city, by the way, where I taught for some years, one of the second city after Khartoum. That health institute was there. I had what a wonderful job of Bishop Ambroro Kasala, Edward of Yambio is doing. And that's, I think that's what the best person that I heard from him about the Friends of Solidarity. What you do or what the Friends of Solidarity are doing is not just for the people of South Sudan and Sudan. You do it for the humanity. Those women's dignity is being injured. Because when you do not know what to do, when you are just a subject, and I'm coming to talk here now as a Southern Sudanese, as myself as a father of five daughters, the Southern Sudanese people look to the women as only object or maybe a goods that can bring income when they get married. And the only way to save them or to give them that God image and that dignified gift that God gives to them is through the education. The Friends of Solidarity has picked up an important element by educating the women, and not just educating them, but maintaining their human dignity through education. And you are not doing it for today, but you are doing it for tomorrow. Because educated mother is a key to a healthy society.
Amen.
Because if you don't do that to the mother, you will not expect it a very healthy community or society. What is happening today in South Sudan with all this tragedy and all these things, it is because the women's rights has been removed from them. And they become just a subject when sometimes they will see how much cow will I get from my daughter. And you don't look into your own daughter as a God image.
Thank
So
you.
keep doing it. And Virgin Mary is supporting this and is watching over you and is praying for all what you do. And I will join you in prayer. Great work that you have picked up, education and health of the people.
God bless you, Deacon Francis. Thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. Thank you for your words. Thank you for reminding us that it all starts with our mother, our Mother Mary and our Earth Mother. I want to open it up for questions at this time. So Father John, if you can.
If you don't mind, can I just edit something that so that I will not speak at the end?
Yes.
What I do also here at the personal level and continue doing what I was doing in South Sudan. A couple years ago, because a lot of many Southern Sudanese people, Catholic, went to the other churches. And I have been crying and crying and trying to pick up, getting somebody to help me. It didn't work in that way, but I went back to the Belgian Mother Mary. She's a good friend of mine. That's only a person that I went to, and she listened very quickly, and she ran to the Son. I don't know how she does it. And I said, help me, Mother. Help me, Mother. Our people are getting lost. So we started it because I like singing. I cannot be at the altar without singing. Not picking up what St. Augustine says, that whoever sings is praying twice. But I do enjoy the Mass when I'm singing at the altar. So I did form a choir from Midwest here, combined from 70 states. That's choir from Sudanese and Southern Sudanese Catholic. They call themselves Sudanese Catholic warriors. I do not know whom they are picking war with. That choir has extend. We pick up to celebrate every year the feast of St. Daniel Comboni and St. Daniel and St. Josephine Bacheta. And this has helped a lot of getting back our Sudanese and Southern Sudanese Catholic. Because we don't do it only in Iowa. We move it from the state to another states. And from there, the Sudanese went to the other churches when they come. And they start singing in Arabic again, the language they speak very well. You will see them the next day near you in the church during the Mass.
That's a wonderful
This is something, I love it. I feel good. I feel good about it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. John, do you want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, and I would just, for the sake of the recording, I think we're asking that people type if they have questions, to type them into the chat box, and then I'll ask them so that the recording can be done smoothly. But there was just, you answered one of the questions that was asked, and you added to it, actually, Francis, a lot of emotional strength in terms of the foci of Friends in Solidarity and the work they're doing in South Sudan, and especially emphasizing the value of education for women. And I'm wondering, is there any other kind of new apostolate or new ministry that you feel it would be important for Friends in Solidarity to think about starting in South Sudan?
Sure, Father, thank you. In the year of 2022, I believe, another tragedy took place when another tribe came and attacked another tribe. Nuer attacked Shuluk. And in that war, in that event, there was an over 370, I believe, according to Bishop Stephen of Malakal, of Diocese of Malakal, who was there with one of the sisters her name is Sister Elena, I believe. She worked for Caritas.
Well, I'll turn it over to you, Craig, for some final words, and then we can close.
Great, thanks. I really appreciate it, John. I'm sorry we ended a little prematurely and not all of the questions could be asked this evening, but very much appreciate Deacon Francis's honesty with us this evening as he was giving us kind of his own personal historical legacy, as well as an update on the present realities that exist in South Sudan. I was personally touched by how he was talking about how Christianity survives even in difficult times among struggling people with broken systems, and even enduring the death of siblings. Yet we see that he continues to carry on and do good work, as do the men and women that are associated with Solidarity in South Sudan. And it is their work right now that Friends in Solidarity is supporting. through these dedicated men and women, we are addressing critical needs in South Sudan in the area of agriculture and education and health and pastoral concerns. And I've been associated with Solidarity with South Sudan for about 15 years now. And I have had the great good pleasure of seeing miracles unfold. I have seen transformational moments for women, for children, for people that are coming to our facilities and using the talents that we are growing in South Sudan. And this would not be possible, quite honestly, if it were not for the support that friends, congregations, and people who believe in what it is that we're doing, for their contributions. So one of the great good things that I have in my job is the ability to thank people for their contributions. And I want to thank everyone that's listening on the webinar this evening for their assistance financially, through prayers, by giving us their talents and addressing the needs in South Sudan. All of us pulling together to make a real impact on the people of South Sudan. So thank you for doing that. For those of you that are new to the work that we're doing, we would invite you to join us. And you can join us through prayer, you can join us through donations, and we graciously and appreciatively receive donations that enable the kind of work that we've been talking about this evening to continue. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for partnering with us. And thank you for all of the ways you support Friends in Solidarity's assistance with South Sudan. So John, I'm just going to turn it over to you and ask if you could close things out with a prayer.
And so let us pray using the prayer of Catholic Relief Services, the prayer for South Sudan. God of peace, St. Francis prayed, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, and so do we. Make us instruments of your peace. Allow instruments of peace to rise up in South Sudan and flourish all over your world. Instruments of peace who offer stability, safety, and justice, that bring joy and hope, that foster hearts of reconciliation, mercy, and love. God of justice, the prophet Maya likened your saving justice to towering mountains, and so do we. May your justice tower over the people of South Sudan, upholding the righteous, protecting the widow and orphan, staying the hand that seeks violence, reconciling brother with brother, sister with brother, your children with each other. God of plenty, your Son showed us how in faith, prayer, and generosity, your bounty could be multiplied, and so will we. Bless South Sudan with a bountiful harvest. Let this conflict not dry its fields or close its markets, or still its people's desire to share what they have. Banish famine from their land, and turn the hearts of all to those who hunger, that we may all share what you have blessed us with, that their baskets may be filled, that their cups may overflow, that their children may flourish. Amen.